We live. What up, people? It's your boy, the host with the most. I do not brag or boast, and I'm coming to you guys live from coast to coast. It's your boy. I'm Chris the Don One. Welcome to another fabulous edition of Based on a True Story podcast. As always, rate, comment, subscribe. Share this with a friend, family, as well as a follower. Let's get this podcast lit in the YouTube algorithm. You hear me? Can you hear me? Oh yeah, y'all can hear me. Y'all can hear me clearly. All right. 4K, 8K, all day, every day. All right. So we're gonna get into it. Story time, story time, story time. All right. Please check out my live stream a couple of days ago. Very entertaining live stream from start to finish. And this will not disappoint you as well. All right. So back in my grocery days, I used to work at this store called Kroger. I used to work in the retail gang. And let me tell you something. The co-workers at these grocery stores slash retail stores, man, they are very unique and interesting, as you can tell from this story. So, peep this, all right? I'm up front. And, there's this co-worker, and he goes by the name of Damien. Now, Damien's cool. I like Damien. Damien's cool. He's funny. He's very dependable. Uh, Ain't nothing wrong with him. Ain't nothing wrong with Damien. Okay? I like Damien. Damien is the type of co-worker that you wouldn't mind being friends with. Okay? You wouldn't mind taking Damien out for some drinks. Like, hey, man, let's go get a beer. Now, Damien do have a caveat, all right? And to some guys, they try to steer away from it. Other guys, it don't bother them. I'm on the side of the fence. It don't really bother me, all right? Damien is gay. Nothing wrong with being gay. I have friends that are gay. I have relatives that are gay. I don't have no problems with the gay community. Okay, you could be wherever you want to be. You could do whatever you want to do. You can believe wherever you want to believe. Just don't try to pass what you believe in on to me. But if you cool with it, if you like it, I love it. All right. And when you meet Damien, you don't even really. Damien's not your average gay person. Okay. Damien don't be wearing no charismatic clothing or talk a certain, got a little sweetness in his tone or walk will shake. Damien, he's not out there. You dig what I'm saying? Flamboyant. That's what the word I'm looking for. Flamboyant. Damien is not that type of gay person. You wouldn't know Damien's gay unless he told you he was gay. That's, that's how close to the vest Damien is with it, okay? So, like I said, Damien, cool dude, like him, have no issues with him. I've been working with Damien for like over 5 years. Never once felt like he was hitting on me or anyone else, okay? Like I said, Damien is one of those type of guys that, you could be friends with him at the workplace. Better yet, y'all can go hang out, okay? The only difference is, like, if y'all was playing basketball, watching basketball, Damien will peep it. He will understand the game and everything. The only difference is, Damien likes other men. His preference is men, not women. And there's nothing wrong with that. In my book, there's nothing wrong with that, okay? So, fast forward to Damien. Now, Damien has an issue like everyone has an issue with this. Everyone is like, Damien has a hard time picking or selecting the right one, okay? Damien goes by, what a person may say or how a person may look. And, Damien, it strikes out in the love game, okay? All of us do that, okay? It doesn't matter if you're straight, gay, whatever. We all, when it comes to trying to find Mr. Right or Mrs. Right, sometimes we strike out along the way. That's That's Damien. So Damien been striking out. So there's this one guy, um, and I think his name was Patrick. Little short dude, okay? Little short dude. I think he's sort of mixed. I'm not sure. He worked there too. And, he was pretty cool. He's like, sometimes we'll be joking around and stuff like that. And in the beginning, I used to, me and Patrick will hang out in the office and we'll be laughing and giggling. You know, Damien will walk by. And then when Damien walks by, Patrick, acts totally different. Okay? I'm going like, what the fuck? I hope he don't think Damien's like the manager or something. He just be on his pins and needles. Okay? So it took me like 2 or 3 weeks to find out. And first and foremost, it ain't really none of my business. Okay? But it took me 2 or 3 weeks to find out that Patrick and Damien, they going together. Once again, have no issue with it. All right? If you like it, I love it. If you happy, I'm happy for you. Okay? No harm, no foul. All right? Now, I will say this. I wouldn't say this because Damien and Patrick going together, more so to, I have seen this done before time and time again. You don't really supposed to be dating your coworkers. I mean, that's not a good mixture. To me, there's plenty of fish out there in the sea. Now, look, you can't, like, if you catch feelings for somebody and that somebody happens to work alongside of you, then it is what it is, okay? But you kind of want to stay away from people that you work with, all right? Particularly if you're trying to be in a relationship with them, or you want to be roommates or best friends or whatever, because you don't know the dynamics later on in life. Are you still going to be working there? Are you going to be working elsewhere? Are y'all working in the same department? Do you have to transfer to another department? It's just those dynamics, okay? Like, what if what if they become the manager? Okay, that's going to be a weird. That's going to be sort of kind of weird, somebody that you go with started as co-workers and now that person becomes a manager and they manage the store that you work at and y'all got a thing for one another. It's just not a good look. Just not a good look, okay? That's just my opinion. Make sure nobody ain't hitting nothing, all right? So yeah, me and Patrick is cool. I don't have no issues with Patrick. I don't really have no issues with Damien. I just knew when Damien was around Patrick, he would act a certain kind. He'll just act different, okay? He'll just switch up on me, okay? So now, later on, I find out that Damien and Patrick going together. No big deal. You can't pick who you catch feelings for, this, that, and the third, okay? So I never once asked Damien, hey, Damien, are you and Patrick trying to go together? Or go to Patrick and go, hey, Patrick, you going together with Damien? It's none of my business who you go with. So, I felt like, look, if it was that important or if they wanted me to know, they would have already told me and addressed the issue, all right? So it started off casual. They would hang out a lot. Patrick would go to Damien's house. Damien would sometimes pick him up from his house because he was still living with his parents. All right. So, they would hang out. It'll start off casual like that. Sometimes they would, go out on lunch or take a break together at work. It started out casual like that. Then after a while, it became more than casual. And then after that, it got serious to the point where they are going together. Now, everyone at the workplace, like I said, it's none of our business. That's their business. Okay, we just kept pushing along. All right, but little by little, people started picking it up that they were going together, but nobody wasn't making a big fuss about it. Okay, so fast forward. Their relationship started taking a turn, and I don't want to say it's turned for the worse, but it was just taking a turn. It wasn't playful and It wasn't casual, playful. It started getting kind of deep, kind of serious, and sometimes it got kind of ugly between Patrick and Damien. Allow your boy to explain. First and foremost, Patrick's parents thought that Damien coming to pick him up or coming in there to, talk to them and see, they thought that Patrick and Damien, they were just real close friends. They didn't know that their son is in a relationship with another guy. And the parents were not happy with that dynamic, that their, son is into guys. Okay. So that's one thing. All right. Another thing that put a wrinkle in the relationship between Damien and Patrick's parents was, Damien was a lot older and Patrick was, very young. Okay. To put this in perspective, I believe at that time Damien was like in his 40s, maybe his 30s, late 30s. Damien was in his late 30s. Patrick, it just came fresh, Patrick's like what, 21, 22. All right. And, it's bad enough that the parents had to, swallow, pause, the dynamic that they're going together, and that, they announcing to the fact that, Patrick is gay. Okay. Their son is gay. And their gay son is dating a guy who's much older than him. Okay. So they was just thinking, they was just trying to put, now, from what I gathered, they was throwing salt in the air, like, their son is not like that. In high school, he used to chase females. Before he came to that job, he was messing around with females and this, that, and the third. And they was coming from the perspective of, well, Damien probably pushed that nonsense on him, converted him into being gay. And that's one thing. Another thing was the age gap. They were not okay with the age gap. Okay. So, Patrick, parents, and Damien, they was in a place where, they were not happy. They were not happy with Damien, and Damien wasn't happy with them. Okay. So that's one thing. All right. So fast forward again. Patrick had a car. He had like one of those Too Fast, Too Furious type cars, some little compact cars that you see on Too Fast, Too Furious. He had one of them type cars. The car broke down on him. You know what I'm saying? And okay, I got plenty of time. Do I got plenty of time? Yeah, I got plenty of time. So Patrick had one of those type cars. It was an orange. It was a Nissan something. It was 2-door and it was orange. That's all I can remember from it. It had some big tires in the back of it. All right. So that car broke down on Patrick. Okay. So Patrick, since he's young, he hasn't established, he hadn't had no credit history, and he normally get his parents to co-sign him on a car. Well, his parents wasn't going to do it. They were not going to co-sign Patrick to another car. Now, I don't know if it's the fact that they co-signed him to this car and he didn't take care of this car, or, they're trying to dangle the carrot on, like, hey, if you stop hanging around with Damien, stop, being his lover, we may, be interested in co-signing you into another car. So that's the dynamic it kind of flew in. So Patrick asked Damien, like, hey, Damien, is it okay if you co-sign for me a car? Now, Damien went on and said, yeah, look, man, when you in love or when you in a relationship, you don't really be thinking or following through, real life stuff. You just try to, everything is in one, if just imagine your partner coming up to you saying, hey, I need a car. I need you to co-sign my car. When are you going to do it? And then, when you're in a relationship, sometimes, you have to go above and beyond, to help your partner out. Okay. So Damien said, cool. So Patrick started looking around for another car. And what really caught Patrick's eye was this BMW. It's one of them sports car BMW, like fully loaded, everything. And I used to remember when I used to hang with Patrick. Like Patrick liked those type of exotic cars because me and him would always talk about these import cars, these exotic cars. We talk about Lamborghinis, but we be talking about cars we know for a fact we ain't gonna see the light of day in. Okay, but it's nice to watch them. It's nice to see them on YouTube. It's nice to see them, just something to talk about. So Patrick was in tune with this BMW. It was like a sports car. Okay, a very expensive sports car. Okay, he asked his parents. Parents wasn't down with it because they looking at it from the point of, okay, you like 21, 22, and you want to get into a $60,000 car. Meanwhile, me and your mom struggling in a Toyota Camry, a 1996 Toyota Camry. It ain't gonna happen. All right, just ain't gonna happen. So then that's when Patrick asked Damien. Damien said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" All right, because once again, Damien's not looking at the finances. He's not looking at, if he falls out, if he can't no longer afford the car note, he's going to have to take on the car note, this, that, and the third. Okay. So Damien said, okay. They went to the BMW dealership, and Patrick got that BMW sports car. I can still remember it was white, had black trimming, had some blue highlighted around the car. The car looked good. Had a great, I'm looking inside that mug, everything's fully electric, sky's the limit, okay? So I'm like, Patrick asked me, he said, what you think about it? I said, man, I like this car. This car is nice, okay? Nice car, have no issues with it, okay? So, Patrick driving around with the car, no big deal. Well, his parents caught wind that, Patrick got a brand new, spanking new BMW. Okay. He got someone to co-sign it, and it was Damien. And let me tell you something. His parents at first they really wasn't co-signing to Patrick and Damien going together because of, they thought that Damien converted Patrick into liking men, and then Damien's much older than Patrick. They hanging on to that stuff. Now you throw this wrinkle in. Damien co-signed being a $60,000 BMW for Patrick, and so now it just makes that dynamic kind of weird. Like, so now they went from, not understanding it to no longer understanding it. Now they cut communication ties with Damien. All right. So now it was just basically Damien and Patrick. So now Patrick had to move in. Like a couple of months after that fact, he started moving in with Damien. Okay. Everything was all good. But once again, when you're in a relationship, you don't take in account, when you trying to co-sign for your boo or your hubby, you don't take this you don't really take this because you just in love, but you don't take the fact that, the car notes due, insurance is due, and this, that, and the third. Now, Patrick is living in your apartment rent free. So, Damien, he was already struggling by himself. So Damien was already working 2 jobs. Okay. So he's already struggling. So Darlene put in his ear like, hey, why are you working 2 jobs when you let Patrick move in? What Patrick is doing. Okay. Damien said, that's a good idea. I need to talk to Patrick about that. So one night he talked to Patrick like, hey, it's getting kind of rough. I'm making ends meet. I'm working 2 jobs. You already live with me. I'm wondering, can you help me with the rent or help me with something? Okay. So Patrick said, okay, I'll go half on the rent. and the food and all that. And that dynamic was okay. But see, then Patrick started feeling himself. He's going like, wait a minute. If I'm paying half the rent and half of the utility and the grocery, then it's just as my apartment as is his apartment. So then that's when Patrick started entertaining other people coming to the house. And he started entertaining this girl. Okay. So, you know, Damien would come back from working a double shift, working at one job, then going to the next job. He's coming home. When he comes home, Patrick is already entertaining some female, some feline in the house. Okay. So that triggered Damien. So Damien and Patrick, they started arguing with one another. All right, like, man, why you bringing these girls in our home? I thought, we together. We are in a relationship, okay? So they were arguing back and forth, Patrick and Damien. Now during this course, they was arguing. They was going back and forth for like 5 or 6 months. During that time, you know, Patrick was playing both sides of the fence. Okay, so Patrick will whisper sweet nothings in Paul's in Damien's ear to make him think that they still an item, they still a couple. But then he'll go home, tell his parents, what they wanted to hear, because he knew his parents didn't like Damien. So he would go tell his parents, like, yeah, I think Damien pushed that on me about being gay and all. I really wasn't, I wasn't really gay. I was just experimenting. And, he's going, he's telling the parents what they believed and wanted to hear. So now the parents are crashing out on Damien. Sometimes they'll come in the workplace, they'll just start giving Damien these dirty looks, start frowning at him and everything. All right. And at the beginning, Damien didn't even know why they crashing out on him. Okay. And then I remember one time, like, I was working, Patrick's mom, she was in line, I was checking her out, and she started talking bad about Damien. I mean, real bad about Damien. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? How are you doing? Okay. I appreciate that. Appreciate y'all hitting the like button. Appreciate y'all hitting the subscription button. So, okay, let me get back. So, she was talking real ugly, real spicy about Damien. Talking about, man, the Damien y'all don't know. Y'all don't realize Damien is playing mind control on my son. And, Damien pushed him into that lifestyle. That's not what my son is about. Now he's jealous because my son don't want to hang with him no more. Translation, a relationship with Damien no more. And now, my son's going, is talking about moving to Nevada because he's got a job out there. She's telling me everything, telling me stuff that I didn't even know about, okay? So I'm playing along with him like, oh, okay, cool. So while she's talking to me, I see Damien in customer service, and he's staring a hole in this lady's head. So Damien already know that she's just talking bad about Damien. So, rush got over with. I took a break. I come back from break. Damien standing by the time clock. He said, hey, I saw you talking to Patrick's mom. I said, well, really, I wasn't talking to her. She was just talking to me. And he said, well, let me guess, she was trashing me. I said, well, I'm gonna be honest with you. She didn't say a lot of nice things about you. Put it that way, okay? And he said, well, what did she say? So I'm saying, like, hey, I don't want to get involved, and I don't want no trouble. So, all I can tell you is she didn't say anything positive about you. Just put it that way. All right. So from what he gathered from me, like, it just seems like, look, she ain't going for it. All right. So now that set a dynamic with Damien and Patrick. Now their relationship started arguing at work. They would argue at home, drive drive to work arguing, clock in arguing, and even arguing throughout the day. I'm gonna tell you how bad it was. It was like we have an account room. Like there's a customer service and then there's an account room. Okay. I'm walking by the account room. I can hear them arguing in the account room. I'm going like, what the fuck? So I immediately go get, the customer service manager. I'm like, hey, everyone knew Damien and Patrick's situation, right? So she went in there. She went in the account room. She said a few things. Then they both came out of there, and they was arguing less frequent after that conversation. Just put it that way. All right. So now Patrick is threatening Damien that he's going to Las Vegas. Okay. And look, if he wants to go to Las Vegas, you can't stop him from going to Las Vegas. So now Damien is threatening. He said, okay, cool. You go to Las Vegas, cool. But you're going to have to leave the car here because the car ain't going to Las Vegas. Because I co-signed for the car. The car's technically mine. Okay? So they're arguing over who has rights to the car and this, that, and the third. Okay? So at first, Patrick was going, fine. I don't care. You can keep the car. All right? You know how you be saying stuff you don't really believe? Patrick, he's just saying stuff that he don't really believe. All right? Then a week after that, he says, you know what? I'm not going to stay in Nevada. I'm just going to visit my friends in Nevada, and I'm coming back. All right. So they done patched things up before he went on before he went to Nevada, and everything was good in the hood. I don't know what type of magic Patrick did on Damien at home, but Damien was happy. He was just floating around air. All right. So Patrick went to Nevada. Now he flew out there. Okay, he just left the car here, and Damon told him just park it at his apartment complex, and he'll watch over it while he goes to Nevada. Now, I don't know if none of this I'm about to tell y'all is true. I'm just basing it. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Meet. How you doing? How you doing? All right. So I don't know if none of this stuff I'm about to tell y'all is true. I'm just getting it from the horse's mouth. This is basically what Damien was telling me. So basically, Damien was saying when Patrick went to Nevada, he was doing some bad things over there. He started messing with the sugar boogers and messing with prostitutes and drinking and spending money on females, and then he done blew his whole load, pause, money wise. So he gotten so bad there, he didn't have enough money to come back home. Now he keep promising Damien, like, if you Western Union him some money, that'll give him a plane ticket or a bus ticket back, to Cashville. All right, but he was just playing in Damien's face, because when Damien would wire him the money, he would immediately take the money and then blow it on whatever he's blowing it on in Nevada. So then Damien cut him off. He said, like, look, I'm not going to just keep giving you money and, you keep spending the money. Okay. So Patrick had to get a job out there to earn up enough money. When he found out his parents wasn't going to help him wire him some money, or Damien wiring him some money, he decided, you know what, I'm going to take matters in my own hands. I'm going to just go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and earn the money. So he was working at this rent-a-car place, Enterprise. And he was working there. Then finally saved up enough money for him to come back to Nashville. So he comes back to Nashville. And things are different now. So now, that time away from Damien was focusing on other things. And so now he done fell out of love with Patrick. Whatever he was feeling with Patrick in the beginning, he don't feel that way no more. Now, Patrick was trying to, smooch in or mooch in on that belief, like you still got feelings for me. Damien don't have no more feelings for you. All right. Now, he still was going to let him have the car. Or he's still going to let him drive the car, but he would have to take on the car note. All right. Patrick just wanted to drive the car. He didn't want to pay the car note. But if that's the only way he was going to get the car, so be it. He had to get him a good job, a good steady job, and he was going to have to not only he's responsible for the car, put it that way. So Patrick was going like, cool. So Patrick found him a little mediocre job out here. He wasn't making the same type of money he was making in Nevada, but he still had those demons. Just because you're doing bad in one place, people do this all the time. They do bad in one place, move to a different place, and they thinking they moving away from their issues, their problems, and their demons. No, they just move with you. You got your issues, your problems, and your demons. They come along for the ride with you. Okay, so now he's still hooked on them sugar boogers and that one, that prostitute he was giving money to. So it done gotten so bad, he bought her a plane ticket to come hang out with him for a couple of weekends, okay? And he's not learning from the mistakes he was doing in Nevada. All he did was just took his issues, he just transported them here, and he's still doing the same stuff that got him in trouble in Nevada, okay? So, now Damien's looking at all this, and now Damien is totally done with Patrick, because he sees that Patrick ain't going to change. Patrick just going to do what the fuck he wants to do, all right? Patrick is just using you. And in the beginning of the relationship, Damien should have saw that coming in. That's the only reason why he was playing along with you, being in a relationship with you, because he knew he can mooch off of you, okay? Now, you just came to this conclusion on your own, but by that time, you done wasted like 4 or 5 years fooling around with this fool, all right? So, Patrick, he broke it off with Patrick, okay? Now, Patrick ain't the type of brother that's going to take care of himself. He likes people taking care of him. So then immediately, he goes back to his parents. And now his parents are taking care of him. Now, as far as that BMW go, at first he was, taking care of it, but then he was getting to the point where he couldn't afford it no more. So, normally he'll just hand the money to Damien, and then Damien would pay the bill, because that's how far gone Damien was with Patrick. He wasn't even going to pay for the car note. He said, hey, look, you're going to take care of your own car note, and if it gets repoed, I'll just take on the repo, but I'm not spending another dime on this car. Okay, that's how serious he was about it. So Patrick had to come up with the money to pay for the car, all right? And that was working for a little bit until Patrick couldn't do it no more. So then he went back to his parents, and he basically, told his parents, like, Damien's using me. He done converted me into something that I never wanted to be in. Using the parents' beliefs about Damien. So Patrick was at his mom and his parents' house, just telling all types of stories on how bad Damien is. Okay, like he's controlling, he's a narcissist. He basically said that he was stalking him and converting him into something that he's not really into or anything like that. And the parents were believing it. They was eating this stuff up. All right. Now, he was thinking that the parents were going to take over paying the BMW. So the parents said, no, we're not going to do that. So guess what the parents did? The parents bought him a BMW of his own. They co-signed a BMW of his own. So Patrick got out of his BMW that Damien gave him, and his parents are now got him in another BMW. Now, this BMW is a lot older than the BMW that Damien put him in. But the parents felt like, hey, look, if we have to co-sign him for a car just to get out of this situation, then so be it. That's from the retrospect they were looking at. Okay, so that's pretty much it with that story. The end of that story was basically, they just broke up, but he was still working at Kroger. Okay, and then they called Patrick of stealing money or something like that, and stealing money. So they ended up firing him. But then what made it worse was LP was going like, wait a minute, wasn't Patrick and Damien going together? So if Patrick was stealing money, he had to learn that from somebody. So they assumed Damien did it. So now Damien's under investigation. They were watching Damien like a hawk for like 3 or 4 years after that. Okay, on and off. Okay, so as far as today, Damien still works over there at that location. And I don't know what happened to Patrick. The last thing I heard about Patrick was, I think he moved back to Las Vegas. I'm not sure, all right? But anyway, hope y'all guys were thoroughly entertained and enjoyed this episode of Based on a True Story podcast. It's your host, your moderator. I'm Krista Don One. Feel free to hit the subscription button, the notification bell, share this with a friend, family, as well as a follower. Let's get this channel lit in the YouTube algorithm. I'm up out of here. I'll talk to you guys another time, another day. I'm gone. Deuces.